Hey everyone, Avros here, and we're on to the next Lufenia fight. So this one is for the Aranea event rerun that's going on right now. So this Lufenia fight has us fighting against the two superior knights. So for these guys, they do have a orb spawn at battle start with a 12 count. This one will disappear when they hit 79% HP, and reappears again at 49% HP with a 10 count. This orb can be increased via critical bravery damage, which will add 2 to the count. Easy ways of trying to counteract this orb, of course, is to just get critical damage. So anything that's done while the enemies are broken, or anything that can be counted as additional critical damage is very helpful. So obviously the three sort of best candidates to do that are Aranea. This is her event, of course. Her debuff on her abilities there, the Vital Crusher debuff, does give everyone additional critical damage against the target, so it makes all damage against the crits, so you can use that. You can also use Keiss's buffs to get extra crits as well, or Sazh's overhead buff from his EX weapon will also assist with that. Other things to keep in mind about these bosses, besides just needing the critical damage to increase the orb, they are neutraled by Thunder element, but absorb literally every other element. So something to keep in mind, try and avoid using any summons other than, say, Odin Bahamut or Ramuh for this fight. Also try and avoid elemental damage dealers. They're also immune to the Paralyzed debuffs and Thunder Resist Down Debuffs, so you can't really make these guys weak to any specific element, so you really do need to rely on just that neutral Thunder, and obviously anything that's non-elemental would be your best bet here. So the other thing to keep in mind as well is they do have a buff they like to put up on themselves called Phalanx. It does go up through multiple different levels. It starts at a white charge, it goes to yellow. I think the final charge for it is red off the top of my head. Thing to keep in mind with that one is it does do a lot of stuff for the enemies, so just double checking this here. So yeah, White Aura is reduced bravery damage taken by 10%, raises their attack and their melee defense, and protects from break for a single turn or until they've taken critical bravery damage. The second level, gives them additional attack and reduces their own bravery damage taken by an additional 30%, and at the third level, if they get to red, it gives them even more attack again and reduces all bravery damage by 50%. So you don't really want them to ever stack that one up. You do need to get rid of that by breaking them or dealing critical damage to get rid of that buff. They will, try and do this if you're not doing enough damage before they hit the 79% HP and the orb disappears, and that will cause them also to become immune to all delay and delete effects until that buff is cleared. So something to keep in mind, if you do see them using Phalanx, you won't be able to delay them any further. Also, at 79%, 49%, 29% HP, they will gain a significant amount of bravery. It's around 50,000, and delay themselves down the turn tracker, so just something to keep in mind, especially around that 49%. When they do gain the new orb, you want to make sure you're still doing critical hits to them, otherwise, that orb has a higher chance of going off before their next turn. Obviously, you've got so many turns in between, you should be able to try and get them down and get those critical hits in. Instant break is a good way of getting through that high bravery there, so just something to think about. Also, all of their single target HP attacks that they do aren't a huge amount of damage dealt, so you can sort of tank through them if you need to. Better to not take those hits if you can help it, but you can deal with them. That being said, they do ignore all bravery and HP damage reduction buffs, so tank's not a huge use here. So Gladio, for example, his buffs won't help with reducing that damage. It's still possibly useful for the fight if you need him for your team comp, but just keep that in mind. Lastly, when they get under 29% HP, they will do very frequent bravery plus HP attacks, and then gaining bravery again. Just something to be aware of when that last 29% hits and that sort of final amount of bravery gets gained. You do really want to try and just rush them down and finish them off as quickly as you can. Finally, and obviously this should be apparent from checking the requirements of the stage, it is a very tight turn counter. 65 turns for a Lufenia fight is very short, so you do want to bring very good damage dealers and very strong units to deal with this fight. Alright, so a lot of information to go over there, a lot of stuff for these bosses that you need to be worried about. That all being said, the easiest sort of strategy to deal with these guys, like I said, bring really strong damage dealers and really just try and delay them and make sure you're getting that critical damage in. So, key unit for your party would be Aranea, Keiss, or Sazh to get that critical damage frequently up to make sure the orb doesn't ever expire, and then bring along, a couple of really good damage dealers. Aranea fits the damage dealer role as well as bringing that crit buff, so if you can bring her, so much the better, which is what I did for my team composition. And then I decided to bring along Lightning, really solid damage dealer and has a lot of delay as well, which this is a great strategy for these bosses, is just to constantly delay them so they don't really get a turn. You should be seeing that on screen at the moment in the fight, but that's what I'm trying to go with here. And lastly, for my team, I decided to bring along Ramza. Wanted someone with really good battery effects and everything to just try and keep everyone's bravery up to make this fight go as smoothly as possible, as well as bringing additional delay via his LD, as well as some healing there in case there was any damage taken, which there was in this fight for me, so just made sure to keep that under control. And yeah, brought friend Ramza as well as trying to get his burst off and the number of buffs available to increase lightning's damage during her burst phase. And that's about it. Don't really have much more to say. If you do have any questions about anything I've covered in this video, or want to ask any questions about possibly variations to the team comp to try and clear this fight, feel free to leave them in the comments down below. And thank you for watching and enjoy the rest of the video.
いにしてあげるよ。切り開く。シザシだよ。蹴散らす。トリプルプレイク。受けろ。シザシだよ。シザシだよ。焼き付けろ。受けろ。魂を引き出す。はあ、虚空を貫け。切り開く。いただくよ。蹴散らす。いただくよ。さあ、おしまいにしてあげるよ。暗いな。仕留める。助かったよ。いけるぞ。とりゃ暗いな。シザシだよ。受けろ。トリプルプレイク。焼き付けろ。蹴散らす。さあ、おしまいにしてあげるよ。じゃあね。切り裂く。そりゃあ。蹴散らす。受けろ。焼き付けろ。 らいな。トリプルブレイク。受けろ。おしまいにしてあげるよ。視察だよ。切り裂く。そりゃあ。受けろ。受けろ。切り裂く。そりゃあ。焼き付けろ。